We all think we know the story of the prodigal son. It's one of the most famous stories ever told. But what if I told you its true, absolutely radical meaning has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, kind of lost in translation? Let's dive in.
Yeah, it's a familiar story, for sure. But in its original Aramaic, which is the language Jesus actually spoke, some of the key words have a depth that completely changes how we see the Father, the sons, and, well, the very nature of forgiveness. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
So the big question is, what was Jesus really saying? By peeling back the layers of translation and getting to the original language, we're about to discover a story that is way more challenging and honestly way more beautiful than we ever imagined.
Okay, first things first. Context is everything. To really get this story, we have to understand who Jesus was talking to and, probably more importantly, why he was even telling it in the first place. So you gotta picture this. This parable is actually the grand finale of three stories about being lost and then found, told one right after the other. And he's not just telling them to a random crowd. His audience is the religious elite, the Pharisees and scribes, and they're criticizing him, grumbling that he hangs out with sinners. So this story isn't just some nice little tale. It's a direct, powerful, and very pointed response to them.
All right, so this story kicks off with a request from the younger son that is, well, it's a whole lot more shocking than it sounds in English. Let's really look at what he asked for.
The difference one word makes here is, it's just astounding. Most Bibles say the son asked for his share of the property or estate, but the Aramaic word that was used is hajeh.
And hajeh, oh, it doesn't just mean stuff, land and money. It means life. We're talking life force, vitality, potential, the very energy of your existence. He's essentially demanding his entire share of life, right now, all at once. He doesn't want to wait for it. He wants to cash it all in. You have to understand, this was a jaw-dropping insult. Asking for your inheritance while your father is still alive was basically the same as saying, "Dad, I can't wait for you to die." And yet, the father gives it to him. Not because he's weak, but out of this deep, profound respect for his son's freedom to choose. So the son takes this life force and just leaves, and his downfall is usually seen as just, going broke. But the original language paints a picture of something much, much deeper, a total spiritual disintegration. The Aramaic word used here implies that he scatters his hajeh. Just think about that for a second. He doesn't just become poor, he becomes spiritually fragmented, scattered to the winds. He completely loses his core identity, his center, and he ends up feeding pigs. I mean, for a Jewish man, that is the absolute symbol of hitting rock bottom.
And this is the turning point. English translations often say he came to his senses, which makes it sound like a logical decision. But the Aramaic is so much more profound. It says he entered into himself. This isn't just about thinking clearly. It's a spiritual awakening. It's a journey back to his own soul after being completely shattered.
And get this, as he's rehearsing his apology, the word he plans to use for sin is hata. The root of this word isn't about moral failure or breaking a rule. It's actually an old archery term. It means to miss the mark. So he's not just planning to say, "I've been a bad person." He's saying something deeper. I lost my way. I lost my orientation. I completely missed the whole point of who I am.
So he gets up and starts the long walk home. And what happens next is the real emotional and theological heart of this entire story. It reveals a kind of love that just breaks all the rules and defies all logic.
But wait a minute. How did the father see him when he was still a long way off? The text implies something so powerful. The father had been watching. He wasn't just sitting inside, hoping. No, he was actively, constantly scanning the horizon, just waiting for his son to come home. And when he sees him, the Bible says he was filled with compassion. But the Aramaic word here is racham. And this is just incredible. Racham comes from the same root as the word for womb. This isn't a thought-out moral decision to forgive. It is a primal, instinctual, gut-level love that erupts from the very place life begins. In his actions, they're completely scandalous for that culture. An elder, a patriarch, would never, ever run. It was seen as a total loss of dignity. But this father, he hitches up his robes and he runs. He throws himself at his son, falls on his neck, and kisses him, all before the boy can even get a word out. The son starts his little practiced speech, "Father, I have sinned," but he never even gets to the part where he asks to be treated like a servant.
The father's acceptance is so complete, so immediate, he literally cuts him off. He won't even let his son finish demoting himself. Instead, he starts shouting for these 4 gifts, and every single one is packed with meaning. The best robe, or in Aramaic the kadamaja robe, which means the first or original one, it restores his true identity. The ring, that restores his full authority in the family. The shoes are huge. They mean he's a son, not a slave, because slaves went barefoot. And the fatted calf? That's not just dinner, that means a party with no limits. This is total, unconditional, 100% restoration.
But hold on, the story isn't over. Just as the party is getting started, we meet the other son. And this is where Jesus turns the story into a direct challenge to his audience, those Pharisees listening in. The elder son is absolutely furious. And you can kind of see why, right? From his point of view, he's been the good one, the dutiful one. He's followed all the rules, and this celebration doesn't feel like grace to him. It feels like a profound injustice. His speech is just dripping with bitterness and this idea of, I earned my place and he didn't. But listen to the father's response. It's so subtle, but so powerful. The elder son spits out, "This son of yours," completely disowning him. And the father gently corrects him, "This brother of yours," trying to pull that broken family back together. And notice, the father doesn't yell at him. He goes out to him, pleading with him, just like he ran for the younger son. He says, "You are always with me, and everything I have is yours." And that's the real tragedy of the elder son. He was lost too. He was physically at home, but in his heart he was a million miles away, totally unable to enjoy the love and the celebration that was his all along. And this brings us to the absolutely brilliant and honestly pretty unsettling conclusion of the story. Or I guess I should say, the lack of a conclusion. Jesus never tells us if the older brother goes into the party. The story just stops. It's left wide open on purpose, because the question isn't really for the character in the story. It was for the Pharisees listening that day, and it's for every single one of us who hears it now. The final decision gets passed to you. When you're faced with this kind of radical, unconditional grace for someone else, will you join the celebration? Will you go inside?